We ask you for your assistance to solve this menace so that we can continue to reproduce, because we need more numbers to take over our position as we grow old. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Katana.
Asante, Bwana Spika. Swala la mihadarati ni swala nyeti sana. Bwana Spika, zamani madawa ya kulevya yalikuwa yanapatikana mijini. Lakini kufikia sasa yameingia mpaka mashinani. Na wanaumia zaidi ni watoto wa shule. Bwana Spika, watoto wetu siku hizi wameanza kujiua kwa sababu wakikula madawa ya kulevya kufikiria kwao kunakuwa ni duni. Tujiulize swala moja, Bwana Spika. Kenya hatuna shamba la cocaine wala hatuna shamba la heroin. Haya madawa yote ya kulevya yanatoka nje. Ni wapi ambapo kuna ulegevu ambapo inaruhusu madawa haya kuingia katika nchini? Kama vile ndugu yangu amesema, kuna baadhi ya vitengo vya usalama ambao wanajua ni kina nani wanaleta mihadarati, wanajua ni kina nani wanauza mihadarati, lakini watu hawa hawawezi kushikwa kwa sababu wanalindwa na wanalipa baadhi ya polisi wetu ili waweze kuwalinda waendelee na biashara yao haramu. Ni wakati mwafaka, Bwana Spika, kama taifa sisi sote bila kulaumu mtu yote tujitolee kama Wakenya kusema kwamba swala la mihadarati ni lazima liharamishwe katika nchi yetu kwa sababu linahatarisha usalama wa kitaifa. Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi.
Bwana Katana, tayari limeharamishwa. Is unlawful to be found with the drugs.
Bwana Spika, ndio tunasema vitengo vya usalama vimelegea. Ni lazima kwa sababu hatuna mashamba ya cocaine, hatuna mashamba ya heroin. Kule zinakotoka ni lazima waangalie kama zinakuja kwa njia ya meli ama kwa njia yoyote, mipaka yetu lazima ilindwe, tuhakikishe kwamba hakuna mihadarati inaingia katika taifa letu. Asante Bwana Spika.
Benja will be the last.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the honorable member for bringing up this matter. Mr. Speaker, drugs are threatening to kill our whole generation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the committee looks at this matter, I want to propose to them that the committee should look at who are the actors, Mr. Speaker, where are the failures in terms of enforcement, Mr. Speaker. And number 3, Mr. Speaker, much more important, is we might accuse NACADA for not performing, but we must also look at the law that establishes NACADA, whether we can propose amendments to that law to give it more powers, more teeth, Mr. Speaker, so that they can be able to act accordingly, Mr. Speaker. So I support the statement.
Chair Security, Owen Bayer.
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Tongo is not here, neither is the Vice Chair, Colonel is not
Inform
here.
them to bring a report, an answer in the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks, Honorable Speaker.
Member
much
for
obliged.
Taita Taveta. Member for Taita Taveta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Member for Mwatate, sorry.
It's Mwatate.
Mwatate, Bwana Mbogo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity you've given me to give my statement. My statement reads.
You should tender an apology to the House for coming late. This is the second time I'm calling you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, for coming late.
Yes.
I was tied up somewhere in the hospital. I had gone to see a patient. Sorry for that.
Go ahead.
Request for statement regarding the rise of insecurity in Taita Taveta County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the recent rise of insecurity in Taita Taveta, particularly in Voi and Matate constituencies. Honorable Speaker, the rise of insecurity in Taita Taveta County has negatively impacted not only the safety but the well-being of the residents, particularly in Voi and Matate constituencies. The constituencies have experienced a number of insecurity incidences in the last 5 months, with people being killed and borders stolen. For instance, in May 2024, Mr. Marian Charlie Chow of ID number 278-97833 was found dead at a satellite site around Rianchore hillside with multiple cut wounds. Additionally, a border rider, Mr. Dunningston Makio Mangombe of ID number 1382264, was found dead on 14th April 2024 in Voi Central Business District and his border stolen. On May 28, 2024, Mr. Silas Silomengo Machongo, a border rider in Ronge Ward, was found dead in Voi constituency and his border stolen, while Mr. Julius Mafuga of ID number 299-51391 was allegedly beaten to death by a police officer from Matate Police Station in May 2024. Further, Mr. Sylvans Manjala Mvoi of ID number 370-23429 was attacked and severely injured on 2nd September 2024 within Sagala Ward in Taita Taveta County and his border stolen. He was rushed to Moi County Referral Hospital for treatment and later referred to Kilimanjaro Christian Medical Center in Moshi, Tanzania, where he succumbed to the injuries. The matter was reported to Voi Police Station under OB number 63/03/09/2024. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. 1. Provide a report on the status of investigation into the incidences, including the death and attacks reported to Voi Police Station. 2. The action being taken to ensure the perpetrators of the crimes are arrested and prosecuted without delay. And 3. The measures being put in place to curb insecurity in the region. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, on Peter Mbogo, MP Mwatate constituency.
Thank you, Honorable Mbogo. Owen Baya, inform Tongoyo to bring a response in 2 weeks.
If you allow me to say something.
Yes.
This is the 4th statement, request of statement on insecurity in Taita Taveta that I have had. I remember Danson Mwashako raised it, and I think another member also raised it. It doesn't seem to go away. And I have had them mention somebody I know from Rongeju. And Honorable Speaker, I think we need to look at this just bringing of statements and stating facts the way they are without looking for a solution to the problem is making us act in vain. Probably, Honorable Speaker, you may need to give a direction that something be done, because a statement will be written, it will be brought here, it will be read, and no action is being done to ensure there is security in Taita Taveta. So, Honorable Speaker, even when we give these statements, some action needs to be done. And I don't know what direction you will give, but I have had my mother's relative having been killed. They will finish those people and I'll have no uncles left. So, Honorable Speaker, I think we need a much more robust action on the ground. Whether you need to order those people there to sit down and review the security there and give us a report. Otherwise, somebody will sit at the headquarters, write a report, and tell us, yes, it happened, this day happened, this thing happened, and that is what it is, as it is. and it does not help to solve the problem. We would like to have a solution there, and this parliament can enforce the solution, Honorable Speaker.
The next minister to appear before the House is likely to be security, so be ready to confront him with the questions, including insecurity in Mwatate. In the meantime, the members elected to come to the House to be answered by the committee, so the committee chair will bring a response in 2 weeks. But Mr. Mbogo, Honorable Mbogo, I'll give you an opportunity when the minister comes for you to prosecute that concern. Next, Gonzirai, member for Kinango.
Here, sir. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Provincial Standing Order 44 into brackets 2 into brackets C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations regarding the safety of Ms. Riziki Luvuno Mambo, holder of passport number AK 325501, who went missing in Saudi Arabia in March 2024. Honorable Speaker, Madam Riziki Luvuno Mambo has been residing in Saudi Arabia since July 2023, when she moved there for employment. However, her family, with whom she maintained regular communication, claims to have lost contact with her on the 12th of March 2024, raising concerns about her safety and whereabouts. Following her lack of communication, the family received reports on 23rd of April 2024 that they said that she had been arrested and was being held at Jeddah Sawara police station in Saudi Arabia. It is alleged that she was found in a state of distress, wandering the streets, and appeared to be suffering from mental health condition. Efforts by the family to secure her repatriation to Kenya have not been successful. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Affairs on the following. 1, the circumstances surrounding the arrest of Madam Riziki Luvuno Mambo by the Saudi Arabia police. 2, steps that the relevant government agencies have taken to ascertain her whereabouts and secure her expedition release from custody and repatriation to Kenya for proper physical and mental care. And 3, the measures that the government has taken to guarantee the safety of all Kenyans living and working abroad to ensure that they receive timely government assistance in case of distress. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Rai. Chairman, Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will get the response in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So that. Next order. Yes, Oundo.
Honorable Speaker, and I request Honorable Mbaya to ask the Chairman of Health to pay attention. Please, can we get the attention of the Chairman of Departmental Committee of Health?
Sir, Honorable Oundo is craving for your attention.
Honorable Speaker, yesterday afternoon, the Chairman, I read a statement from the Minister of Health concerning the rollover from NHIF to this new animal called, I don't know, it's called sheep or shia or whatever it is called. And Honorable Speaker, since yesterday, I being one of them, and I'm sure many of our colleagues here will bear me witness, we have been inundated by so many calls from our constituents who are generally stranded in hospitals. Because in many hospitals, be they private or public, many patients are being told that the NHIF card they have is not valid, is not acceptable at this particular moment. And that's why I want, with your indulgence, Honorable Speaker, the chairman, being the representative of the executive here, and me being a member of the government, to assure the Kenyans wherever they are to give this assurance and give it to these members of parliament and all Kenyans wherever they are, that the transition from NHIF to SHIF is seamless, when if you just have the card for NHIF, you still receive the same services that you would have received under the new SHIF as we wait the transition process to be completed. Honorable Speaker, let me go on record. And let me go on record. Again, somebody distracting the attention of the chairman. It seems he's extremely on high demand. Honorable Speaker, let me go on record. As we were coming in this afternoon session, one of my constituents called me that they had earlier booked to go for a spinal injury operation at Kenyatta University Teaching Referral Hospital. At the point of discharge today, they were told that the card they have is not valid, cannot be used. Luckily enough, and Honorable Speaker, my God is always with me whenever I walk. I bumped into the chair, and he was magnanimous enough to pick his call the CEO of the hospital, and that's how we have been able to intervene and save the situation. I'm just wondering, how many Kenyans have got access to Dr. Pukose? How many Kenyans can the CEO of any of this referral hospital pick their calls and listen to them? So we want him to give Kenyans an assurance that whichever any kind of those kind of issues arise, it must be seamless and very clear that you simply have to confirm you are a full paid up NHIF contributor and you will be attended to and discharged as per the existing agreement. I hope, Honorable Speaker, this will save the trouble and the pressure many members of parliament are going through at this particular time. For you, Dr. Pukose, for what you have done today, may the Almighty God increase the number of noises in your homestead. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Dr. Pukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I want to thank Honorable Undo for being magnanimous enough to accept that we have been able to intervene and his patient will now be going home after the spinal surgery that was done at Kenyatta University, and we were able to call Dr. Dagane, who is the CEO, Kenyatta University, and intervened. Honorable members, for record purposes, as we speak today, 12,600,833 as per today, Kenyans have been transitioned to Social Health Insurance Fund. Out of that, those who are in NHIF are 9,640,523, and those who are newly registered are 2,900,323. This is the current figures. And members, I can confirm that as you will find that messages are coming to your phone, where without you even having done anything, you are among those 9,600,000 that have been transitioned from NHIF to Social Health Insurance Fund through the system without you doing anything, after they cleaned the system. The system initially had about 12 million Kenyans, but about 3 million people do not exist in the Kenya National Registration Bureau. So it is only after cleaning the fingerprints that everybody, when you have your key in your ID, you will find that now you don't need to take your fingerprints, because what the system they have now is that with your ID, they can access your fingerprints within the Kenya National Registration Bureau. I want to assure Kenyans outside there and the honorable members in this house that no Kenyan will be denied the services. I think the unfortunate information outside there is that it is the ministry is not doing enough, but I know they are trying their best. But we want the information to reach to every Kenyan that if you are a paid up member on the NHIF, you will automatically transition and your services will not be interrupted. So, and Honorable Unda is a witness, because when we called the CEO Kenyatta, he has personally gone to see the patient in that ward in bed 7. I think it was bed 7, bed 9 in the Jude ward. Yes, so he's personally gone to see the patient, and many of those within the hospitals, they should not worry about paid up members who are in the NHIF. They have now been transitioned, and the Social Health Insurance Fund is doing its best to send messages so that you get messages to know that you are up to date. And they have also created an emergency line, which is a toll line, which they can be able to respond to any questions when you have challenges. We know this is a teething problem, but the ministry is up to its position to make sure that no Kenyan is denied services wherever they go, and they are paid up members. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader, your Thursday statement.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision Standing Order 44.2a, I rise to give the following statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Tuesday, 1st October 2024, to prioritize business for consideration during the week. Honorable Speaker, as you are aware, this morning the House resolved to suspend its sittings of Thursday, 3rd October 2024, so as to allow administrative arrangements necessary to facilitate the program for public participation on the special motion for the removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Consequently, the House will reconvene on Tuesday morning. Honorable Speaker, with regards to business scheduled for Tuesday next week, members will note that the House will convene from 9 a.m. to commence consideration of the special motion on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. In line with the procedural motion passed by the House, it is expected that during the afternoon sitting, the House will sit until conclusion of the debate on the special motion. Honorable Speaker, in view of the foregoing, I urge members to be present and actively participate in this vital constitutional process. Your insights and contributions are critical, and together, Honorable Speaker, we can ensure that our deliberations reflect the collective wisdom, values, and aspirations of our society. Members, let us come together not just as legislators, but as stewards of integrity and future of our motherland. A robust discussion will allow us to consider various perspectives, ensuring that our final decisions are well informed and representative of the views of our constituents. As representatives of the people, it is our solemn duty to engage in discussions that uphold justice, equality, and the democratic principles that define us. Notably, Honorable Speaker, this matter transcends party lines and speaks to our commitment to good governance, accountability, and fidelity to the Constitution and the rule of law. Indeed, as the Indian author and philanthropist Rohin Nilekani once said, we cannot be mere consumers of good governance. We must be participants, and we must be co-creators of good governance. I end the quote. Honorable Speaker, having said that, in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order 42A, 5 and 6, I wish to convey that the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration is scheduled to appear before the House on the afternoon of Wednesday, 9th October 2024, to respond to the following questions. And just like the Honorable Speaker told the member for Mwatate, this is the time that probably he needs to bring those questions. And that day, on the Wednesday, 9th October 2024, the first question by private notice will be question number 008 of 2024 by the member for Lugari, the Honorable Nabwera Nabi, MP, regarding circumstances that led to the death of two brothers, Mr. Bonventure Ounza of ID number 380-63032 and Mr. Callistus Apwike of ID number 41-444-793 by police based at Santo Police Station. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, is the question by private notice number 11 of 2024 by the member for Moyale, the Honorable Professor Jaldesa Guyo Wako, the gynecologist, regarding the status of the investigations into the shooting of Ms. Kabale Galgalo Guyo of ID number 3976-3161 around Kangemi Mosque in Nairobi County. The next question is question number 271 of 2023. This is a 2023 question, Honorable Speaker, by the member for Laisamis, the Honorable Joseph Lokuton, MP, regarding staffing of births and registration offices in Laisamis and Loyangalani sub-counties. Question number 02 of 2024, Honorable Speaker, by the member for Matungu, the Honorable Oscar Peter Nabulindo, MP, regarding the surge in cases of livestock theft in the Western region and in particular Matungu constituency. Another question, number 3 of 2024, by the member for Kinango, the Honorable Gonzi Rai, who I saw around here, is regarding the deployment of the contingent of General Service Unit GSU to Kazamoyo village in Kwale County. Question number 5 of 2024 by the member for Bahati, the Honorable Irene Njoki, MP, regarding the replacement of the vehicle with registration plate number GKB 340J assigned to Deputy County Commissioner for Nakuru North Sub-County. The other question, Honorable Speaker, is question number 37 of 2024 by the member for Isiolo South, the Honorable Tubi Budi, MP, regarding the special vetting of ID cards applications carried out by the Ministry for the residents from northeastern and other border regions of the country. The next question is question number 45 of 2024 by the member for Fafi, the Honorable Yakub Farah, MP, regarding actions taken by the government to enhance security in Fafi constituency. The next question, Honorable Speaker, is question number 48 of 2024 by the member for Emuhaya, the Honorable Omboko Milemba, MP, regarding the security of the non-local teachers in Mandera County and border northeastern regions. Again, on the cards, Honorable Speaker, is question number 050 of 2024 by the member for Kilome, the Honorable Thaddeus Zambia, MP, regarding the criteria for gazettement of the Nzai sublocation in Makueni constituency. Honorable Speaker, next is the question number 59, 2024, by the nominated member, Hon Irene Mayaka, MP, regarding statistics of fully operational gender desk equipment in police stations in the country to deal with gender-based violence in the country. Again, Honorable Speaker, there's a question number 123 of 2024 by the member for Yatta, the Honorable Robert Basil, MP, regarding the omission of Yatta Sub-County Administrative Unit from the Gazette number 1766 of 14 February 2024. I'm coming to the end, Honorable Speaker, and the second to last question is question number 124 of 2024 by the member for Kiambu, the Honorable Mashua Waithaka, MP, regarding delay in issuing national ID cards within Kiambu constituency. And lastly, Honorable Speaker and members, is question number 126 of 2024 by the member for Sigor, the Honorable Peter Lochakapong MP, regarding the number and contractual details of the employees recruited by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, to the Department of Refugees. Honorable Speaker, Tuesday is the day we reconvene. Honorable Speaker, we have a long agenda, a big agenda for that day, and as members depart for public participation, I wish them journey masses and good public participation. And therefore, in conclusion, Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee will reconvene on Monday, 7th October 2024 to schedule business for the rest of that week. This is Monday, not Tuesday, Monday 7th, Honorable Speaker. So members of the House Business Committee be notified so that we'll schedule business for the rest of the week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House today. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and good luck.
Thank you, Honorable Owen Bayer. Honorable members, we'll now go to questions. The Honorable Aden Bare Duale, Minister for Environment, or Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Change, and Forestry, is already in the House. Welcome, Waziri. We'll now go to questions. In the interest of time, try to be as precise and concise as you can. Members, I'll only allow one joyrider on each question. No more than that. We'll start with the member for Alego Usonga, Honorable Samuel Atandi. You look surprised, Atandi?
No. I'm not surprised, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah.
I'm aware that the Cabinet Secretary for Environment is supposed to come to respond to my question. Yes.
So go ahead and ask your question if you are ready, or we move to the next.
Honorable Speaker, let me get the question. In the meantime, you can go to the next question. I don't have the question ready.
Question 105 of 2024, member for Chepalungu.
Oh, thank you.
Victor Koech Mandazi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have the question.
Mandazi, you are... go back to the bar and bow and come back.
Honorable Speaker, I'm ready.
Go ahead, Honorable Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question is number 304 of 2023.
Yes.
And the question is, one, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, issued a license for the construction of residential properties along Odaya Road, Kileleshwa on LR number 33734/338, despite the potential environmental impact caused by the developer. Number two, state why NEMA permitted the construction of the said building to proceed without public participation. Number three, explain why the developer has been able to continue constructing the said illegal structures even after repeated requests and petitions from concerned residents. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it's a privilege to come back to this house, which is my second home, a house that I have a lot of respect for and members that I have a lot of regard for. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Atandi asked a number of questions. In the interest of time, Speaker, I want to state that my ministry and agencies that are under me, like NEMA, are fully committed to upholding the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, CAP 387, and all its regulations as passed by this House, with the primary objective of ensuring environmental protection and sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, let me say it for record, that environmental protection for this generation and the future generation is found in the preamble of the Kenyan Constitution. So it's not even an article of the Constitution. There are many articles, but the preamble of our Constitution talks about protecting our environment for this generation and the future. Coming to the specific question, in the case of the proposed residential development, LR number 3734/338 on Othaya Road, Kileleshwa, allow me to note that the following why NEMA issued a license for the construction. The said developer, named Dettiland Company, sought to construct a 314-story building consisting of 224 residential units. Given the scale of this project, Mr. Speaker, it was classified as a high-risk undertaking as defined by Section 58(1) of MCA as passed by this House, and Legal Notice number 31 of 2019. As per the law, any high-risk project, Mr. Speaker, is required to undergo a thorough environmental impact assessment process to assess if there are any environmental impacts. An environmental impact assessment, Mr. Speaker, was conducted through a NEMA-registered EIA expert called Neolife Consultants Limited, and the report was submitted to NEMA for review and ultimate to give a license. The reference number of that environmental impact assessment, Mr. Speaker, is attached, and the member has. Same, Mr. Speaker, NEMA reviewed the report, found it adequately addressed all the potential environmental impacts, supported by a detailed environmental and social management plan. The Nairobi City County, Mr. Speaker, or the Nairobi City County government approved the same development plan, and then NEMA issued the environmental impact license number NEMA EAA PSL 8261 on 7th July 2020 with conditions of sustainable development and sound environmental management of the proposed project, which to date NEMA, under its obligation, does continuous monitoring. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to affirm the Ministry's dedication to safeguarding the environment while balancing the need for sustainable development that contributes to Kenya's socioeconomic growth. Our action remains aligned with both the national and international environmental standards. Honorable Speaker, the second question that the member have asked my good friend Honorable Atandi was state the reasons why NEMA permitted the construction of the said building to proceed without public participation. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, allow me to know that public participation is a critical and a principle in our Constitution. It is also a very integral part of any environmental impact process, assessment process, as mandated by Section 59 and Section 60 of the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, and above all, Regulations 19 of the Environmental Impact Assessment and Environmental Assessment Regulation 2003, passed by this August House. For this project, I wish to confirm public participation, Mr. Speaker, was conducted as follows, and it's there in the documents that I've provided to the House and to the member. NEMA dispatched copies of the Environmental Impact Assessment report to 9 lead agencies on the 4th of March 2019 for sectoral review and comments as required by Article 20 of the Environmental Impact Assessment Regulations. These entities include the Ministry of Environment ourselves, the County Physical Planning of Nairobi, the Water Resource Authority, Kenya Urban Authority, Roads Authority, National Land Commission, Public Health officials of Nairobi County, Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company, and finally Nairobi County Director of Environment. NEMA also, Mr. Speaker, had issued a proponent with a notice of publication on the 1st of March 2019 to invite the public to make oral or written comments on the Environmental Impact Assessment Study report. It was captured in all the daily papers. In the Star on Wednesday, 13th March 2019, again on the Star on the 20th March 2019, on the Kenya Gazette notice number 2531 of 15th March 2019, in nearly about 4 radios, 4 classified adverts per day. NEMA received again varied public comments as detailed in the attached. Consequently, a public consultation meeting was held on the proposed site on the 27th of June 2019 with the participation from 62 residents. The minutes of the public consultation, Mr. Speaker, are attached. And that's why this House is going on a recess tomorrow to do public participation. It is central to our Constitution. Nobody can avoid it. Neither can NEMA has the luxury to avoid it. A major concern raised by the residents was conformity to zoning policy of the area and the number of floors, connection to the sewer. All these were addressed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me make it very clear as the new minister to this docket. Zoning, sewerage, all these are functions of the county government of Nairobi. And the Senate has a role to call the governor or his officials to the same. Speaker, in the view of that, I have just highlighted there was indeed meaningful public participation and information disclosure of the project. Question 3, Mr. Speaker, was why the developer has been able to continue constructing the said illegal structure even after repeated requests. Mr. Speaker, the construction has continued despite several petitions by some of the concerned residents. I am indeed aware that the residents have lodged petitions with NEMA and other government bodies. Residents were also advised to appeal for a tribunal independent evaluation on NEMA. Speaker, this House in its mandate in making laws and regulations has given the citizens recourse to appeal. If you are not happy with the NEMA decision, then you go to the NEMA Complaints Committee. If you are not happy, then you go to the independent environmental tribunal chaired by somebody of a standing of a judge of the High Court. And reputable institutions like Law Society of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, have their representation. So the members were advised to go there, and the Speaker, since there was no court order, nobody has gone to the tribunal, nobody has gone for an independent evaluation of the NEMA decision. NEMA and the other agencies continue to monitor with the compliance with the environmental impact assessment. Mr. Speaker, finally, I wish to reiterate the following. The Ministry through NEMA remains committed to ensuring all full compliance with the Environmental Management and Coordination Act and its regulations as passed by the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I think we're going to give one joyrider. Let me see. The Honorable Gitonga Murugar, member for Tharaka Nithi. Oh, you're on the intervention button. The Honorable Zamzam. Oh no, she's pulled it out. Yes, I was going to allow you after one joyrider. Then you can respond, but we can go to you directly if there are no people. Proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me say that the response by the Cabinet Secretary appears satisfactory. And given that also is new, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on him. The only observation that I want to make based on his response is that it appears these matters will be dealt more by the county government of Nairobi County government is one that should take a lot of blame on this matter, because the initial concern was that that area is zoned, and the buildings that are coming up are beyond the guidelines of the particular zoning. So it means that the Nairobi County government has allowed these structures to go up beyond the guidelines of the zoning. But what I wanted to ask the minister is that these buildings are coming up, and issues like drainage, the sewerage systems of the area have not been improved or expanded. Don't you think that, as the minister in charge of environment, this is something that should concern you, that structures are going up even to 20th floor, yet these structures are also important? So are they not going to affect the environmental aspects of the county? And going forward, things like flooding, you saw what happened during the recent flooding. One of the issues that was raised is that we are not respecting the environmental orders. So I wanted to ask you, the minister, because you are new, and this is something that I know you are capable of addressing, can you tell us how you are going to address these concerns? Because that's the biggest problem. The other issues, as you have explained, we are going to see how they can be addressed by the county government of Nairobi, because it appears that the county government of Nairobi is also supposed to ensure some of this compliance. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I think we can go to the next question. Honorable Luku, the time has gone up for that. You're a member for Chabalungu. You may go to your question, 105/2024.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. I would wish that the Cabinet Secretary before us today, I would like to read my question as follows. That could the Cabinet Secretary confirm the presence of Raila Company Limited and Naraitoi Company Limited that are engaging in large-scale irrigation-based farming along Amalo River that is bordering Chepalungu constituency? Number two, confirm the allegation made by the residents of surrounding villages, including Chemengwa, Kinyanga, Kobalwa, Kosia, Kamosiro, Nogirwet, and Kamongil area that the said companies are engaging in cloud seeding activities, resulting in alterations to the local rainfall patterns, with some villages experiencing a complete lack of rain throughout the year, despite other areas of the constituency receiving rainfall. Number three, Speaker, state the steps that the ministry intends to take to address the concerns raised by the affected areas residents. Thank you, Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Just to, if you allow me, Honorable Atandi has raised it. The Constitution and the people of Kenya in their wisdom, have allowed separation of powers between the two levels of government. Zoning, waste management, pollution, whether it's air, sound, is a function of counties. But I want to assure this House, now that I'm the Minister for Environment, we will not issue a license. We will be the ones. If we don't issue, nobody can build. And I want members to help us and help the country. People are building flats that the people who live in those flats, in those residential areas, have no access to light, they have no access to fresh air, and you can imagine, if you have young children, those children will not grow. I'm not a doctor. Dr. Pukose and the doctors who are sitting in this house and those who are listening will agree with me. But I have given NEMA strict instructions that is not going to be business as usual. On Honorable Koet, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to confirm that there is the existence of these two companies, one in Narok West constituency bordering Chepalungu constituency. And I also wish to confirm that these companies practice large-scale farming using irrigation. The second question, Madam Speaker, was to confirm the allegations made by the residents of those 5 or 6 villages that the said companies are engaged in something called cloud seeding. Madam Speaker, on the second question, if you allow me, they're engaged in cloud seeding. Before I proceed, let me try to respond to this question and allow me briefly to explain to the House what cloud seeding is all about. Cloud seeding is where weather modification technique that changes the amount or the type of precipitation from the clouds in terms of rain. There has been research aimed at establishing whether this is viable, but all studies have shown that the input expenses are far more than the benefits. Madam Speaker, the ministry is not aware, through our meteorological department, that such entities are engaging in cloud seeding activities within the said locality. On the alteration of rain patterns in the area of interest, Madam Deputy Speaker, data available to us from the neighboring Longisa automatic station owned by Kenya Meteorological Department indicates that there has been an increase in the annual rainfall in that area totals as from 2018 to 2023, and I have attached the figure and the maps to this document, which I've shared with the members. Secondly, Madam Deputy Speaker, the member asked to allow me to highlight that what the ministry, through the Meteorological Department, has done. The Meteorological Department, the Kenya Meteorological Department, has recently installed automatic weather stations in Chapalungu constituency and all its environments. However, specific variability in the specific locations could not be established due to lack of data. Our ministry and our department will continue monitoring the data for analysis to draw adequate information, and I want to assure you, once we make a policy formulation, we will forward to address this issue, and we will not allow our communities to be aggrieved. Madam Speaker, the third question was the steps the ministry intends to take to address the concern raised by the affected residents. Honorable Madam Speaker, on the last question, allow me from the onset to commit and to state our commitment towards protecting the interests of our local communities. To this end, in addressing the concerns of the affected residents, I commit to do a follow-up with the Ministry of Water and its agency, the Water Resource Authority, to ascertain the abstraction of water from both River Amalo and River Nyangores, as mentioned, and we will report back to this House in very, very due course within 2 weeks. Further, going forward, we hope that by the enactment of the meteorological bill, which is before the House, the Meteorological Department will have the powers to regulate weather-related activities in the country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Before I allow one interjection and then the owner of the question to confirm whether he's satisfied with the answer by the Cabinet Secretary, allow me first to welcome very special guests who are seated in the Speaker's Gallery from Kisii County. Mr. Moega Onchweri, Mrs. Moega, Wakili Wycliffe Moega, and for Claire Ombati. And I think I'll allow the Honorable Osoro, Sylvanus Osoro, to welcome them on behalf of the National Assembly. He will explain.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I had to make this very, very special request, which is again unprecedented in this House, to welcome very, very special guests to me. because Mr. Mwenga Onchweri picked me from the streets and took me to school upon the demise of my parents. This is a very special guest to me. It's a very emotional thing to me because when he actually came where somebody had given me a small casual job of welding after I had dropped out of school, he picked me and decided to take me to school, back to school, educated me until I finished. And ironically, I mean, one thing that is very special, Honorable Speaker, is that this is the first time that Mr. Mwenga is stepping his feet in Parliament at 78 years old. And when I made a request to this House, Honorable Speaker, and to the leadership of this House, they agreed to have them sit there so that they see what we do in this House and to see their product. But again, on the flip side, Honorable Speaker, I got surprised today when I welcomed Mr. Mwenga that he also knows the Honorable Member for Kisii County, the Honorable Doris Donya Aburi. He also educated Honorable Donya Aburi because they actually happen to come from, they happen to come also from the same village. So he's a very, very special person. His dream to become a member of parliament years back did not materialize for Nyaribari Church constituency, but I've just told him that by me being member of parliament, and Honorable Aburi, member of parliament, is actually a double victory. So, and that is why I made this very special request. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the Honorable Donya Deris will give you 3 minutes.
Madam Speaker, the beauty of Samaritans. I'm always talkative, but when I look at them, today I'm very humble. I've eaten a lot of vegetables because parents and Samaritans are the best thing that God can give. You can even attest, Honorable Soro, you can think he was reading the Bible. He's also come because the parents are there. See what the parents, Madam Speaker, have done to us. Today we can't even Gachagua anybody. We are just good. We are very obedient. And please, honorable members, M-Pesa your parents. Please, parents believe girls are the one who give them food, who send them M-Pesa, unlike the boys. Now we change it, honorable members, the male. Please, those who are here today, send your mom some M-Pesa and make it 10,000 and above. Even CS, Honorable Duale, I will come for 100,000 from you. I send to my mother. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, now thank you for the digression. I think we can proceed. I'll give one honorable member, Honorable Zamzam, member for Mombasa, and then we will go back to the member for Chepalungu to confirm if you're satisfied with the answer.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kumshukuru mzee kwa kuweza, mzee Mwenga, kwa kuweza kulea hawa vijana wawili. Leo ni wabunge ambao sisi tunawacelebrate hapa ndani ya hili bunge. Na mimi imenikumbusha sana mzee marehemu Yusuf Haji, na yeye pia aliweza kunisomesha, na ndio maana mnaona jambo lolote likija hapa la Nurdin Haji, yule ni ndugu yangu, lazima nitampigia upatu. Na sisi ambao tumetoka katika familia maskini, Mheshimiwa Spika, tukasomeshwa, tukanyanyuliwa na wale ambao wanatuonea huruma. Siku zote sisi huwa na huruma, na ndio maana waona tuarudi kwenye jamii na tuwazidisha upendo kwa wale ambao hawawezi kujimudu katika masomo, na sisi pia tuweze kuwasaidia. Mheshimiwa Spika, nafikiri vile nimepata fursa kabisa nimuulize waziri wa mazingara, na niweze kwanza kumpongeza kuja katika bunge. Asante sana bwana waziri, tunakushukuru sana. Mimi nilikuwa nataka kuuliza, umesema kuwa kuna haya mambo ya mazingara ya sewage na nini ni mambo ya county, lakini hata tukiangalia Mombasa county, Mheshimiwa waziri, Ukiangalia pale Chuda, maji taka, sewage inaingia ndani ya bahari na imekaa miaka mingi sana. Wale watoto ambao wanakaa kule katika sehemu zile za slums wanaenda wakiogelea kule, Mheshimiwa Spika. Ni kwa sababu watu wamejenga majumba bila kuangalia njia zao za sewage zitakwenda vipi, zote wamezielekeza kwenye bahari, Mheshimiwa Waziri. Kwa hiyo mimi nakuomba kama unaweza kulifuatilia. Umesema ni akaunti, lakini mimi nakusihi, maana yake wakati mwingine barua ikitoka kwa waziri, pengine jambo laweza likafuatiliwa likafanywa kwa wepesi, Mheshimiwa Waziri. Kisha nauliza, Mheshimiwa Waziri, unapanda miti ya matunda. Mimi kama mama Mombasa County nimezunguka nikaangalia, miti ya nazi imekuwa chache sana ndani ya pwani. Na kuomba kama mama Mombasa utuletee miche ya nazi ili tuweze kupanda kama matunda, na miche ya maembe iwe ni chakula na pia itaweza kuleta mvua. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Waziri.
Before I allow the Cabinet Secretary to respond to her brief question, let me allow the member for Chapalungu. I think, Honorable Mugambi, I think the Speaker already ruled on this, that it will be one rider question and then back to the owner of the question.
It's okay. Thank you, Speaker. While I appreciate the response from the CS, I would like to make him aware that it's also nice for him and his team to visit these particular villages that I talked about, because I'm the member of parliament and I know what happens. In a particular situation, I was attending a funeral in a village called Kabalwa. It was raining at Sigor town, but upon reaching Kapalwa, it was dry, or it was dust everywhere. And one MC by the name Henry from Kabalwa village really challenged me that whenever there is rainfall, whenever they see signs of rain from these particular villages that I mentioned in this particular question, the person who does irrigation or farming from the neighboring village, these particular companies, he told me in black and white that he normally comes out, shoots the cloud. Those who are his local words. He simply told me that he normally comes out, shoots the cloud, and the next moment there is no rain in these particular villages. That's why, as a member, I took it upon myself to raise the question on their behalf. And equally, it is worrying to the effect that this particular data that you gave out, that these particular villages have seen an improvement in rainfall, it is totally wrong. I want to say this particular data is wrong as far as I am concerned, because I know these particular villages. The only time that these villages have received rainfall is when the entire country is receiving heavy rainfall. That is almost 1 year ago. But in normal situations where we see patterns of rain, these particular villages that I've mentioned here don't receive any volume or any rainfall at all. So while I appreciate you, I really want to encourage the ministry that you lead now to go back to these villages, get real information, and come back with proper data that will guide what you will do as a ministry, so that we see these particular villages benefiting from the rainfall, because it's dry. It's really dry when there is no heavy rainfall from the country. Thank you.
Honorable Cabinet Secretary, do you have a rejoinder?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the member for Chapalungu, Chapalungu is a very great constituency led by a great man called Isaac Ruto, who I have a lot of respect for. I want to assure you, after I leave here, please give me your number when you are ready. The Kenya Meteorological Director General and all our researchers will go with you, visit with you all the villages. We work for the people of Kenya, and they will come back to us. So you tell me when you are ready, because I want you to be there. So that. Secondly, to my sister, Zamzam, Honorable Zamzam, I agree with you. I'll talk about this matter in a later question that Honorable TJ Kajuang has raised. How sewer in our counties are dysfunctional, how there's poor management of the sewer manholes, how there's illegal dumping on our water bodies, the seas, the rivers. So I think when I reach that question, Madam Speaker, I think I'll give a more comprehensive statement on the position countrywide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members, let's move to our third question, number 106 of 2024, by the Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, member for Westlands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to congratulate the Minister for his new assignment in the Ministry of Environment, because the Ministry of Environment, Madam Speaker, all over the world is now the in thing. Everybody is talking about climate change. Everybody is looking at how we can rescue our planet. And I'm sure Honorable Duale is up to the task. And we know he has passion for anything he does. So, Madam Speaker, allow me to ask my question. Question number 106 of 2024 to the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Change, and Forestry. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the reasons behind the depletion of rivers, including the number of permanent rivers that have dried up in the country over the past 4 years, and the plans by the ministry to address and mitigate the situations? Question 2, enumerate the entities and groups that discharge their affluent in the rivers, along with the number of private dams constructed in the last 2 years, and the policy statement outlining the penalties imposed on such entities for negative environmental actions. Number 3, disclose the policy statement allowing the cultivation and re-entry of communities into forested areas, specifying the regions and roadmap for such action and the acreage likely to be affected by the forest, by perforest. Question 4, outline the measures put in place to reclaim, safeguard, and sustain all riparian areas and vulnerable ecosystems within the country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary, you may proceed.
Honorable Madam Speaker, before Honorable Zamzam walks out, there's a question that she asked, I have forgotten, on the coconut trees. I want to confirm that I am here with the CEO of Kefri. Kefri and Carlo have developed a hybrid that is shorter and faster growing coconut trees. They are available in Mutwapa, they are available in Gede, in Kilifi, and we are ready. And also, Madam Deputy Speaker, the 15 billion tree growing initiative of President William Ruto in his strategy to restore our ecosystem, 30% of those seedlings are fruit trees. And I really want to ask members of parliament to help that strategy, take charge of the 30%, give to our rural women in our constituencies, our villages, and that will even first restore our ecosystem, our forest cover, and then help reduce poverty. Madam Speaker, coming back to the question by Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, a man I have respect for and has represented the people with disability in this House for a number of parliaments, is that it was the issue of river depletion is a critical concern that is on this government's agenda. Under the leadership of His Excellency the President, the government has made a concerted effort to address the causes, recognizing their far-reaching impacts on water resources, on the livelihoods of our people, and the future of our nation. Allow me to elaborate the main causes of this challenge, highlighting very few because the document I have provided to Honorable Wanyonyi and to the Office of the Clerk. One of it is deforestation and degradation of water catchment areas in very critical water catchment areas like the Mao Forest Complex, the Aberdare Ranges, Mount Kenya Forest, and all this has led to a significant reduction in the ability of these forests to regulate our river flow. For instance, rivers such as the Mara, the Sondu, and Njoro, which originate from the Mao Forest, have experienced decreased water levels due to deforestation, which I will again later address in another subsequent question. Two, the other thing that has affected our rivers is prolonged drought and erratic rainfall patterns due to climate change. Climate change is the current currency in the world. It is there, we must face it. You have seen the floods in Nairobi, you have seen the drought, you have seen the landslides. Climate change is a reality. And this has reduced river recharge and flow. Rivers like Athi River, Wasonyiro North River, which support a very critical ecosystem, support our communities, pastoralists, for water, their livestock, and for people, are among those which have been affected by this erratic and prolonged drought. And these changes have significantly led to significant reduction in water availability across the country. There is a third one is of over-abstraction and unsustainable water use for agriculture, for domestic use, and for industrial use is another big challenge. I want to give the example of Wasonyiro River, which flows through the arid and semi-arid areas. It has seen its water levels drop drastically due to excessive irrigation in the upstream areas. Similarly, Athi River is heavily tapped for irrigation and industrial use, contributing to what the member is saying, reduced flow downstream. Encroachment and human activity within our riparian areas is another factor that reduces the flow of our rivers. This has contributed to the degradation of the river ecosystem. The construction, agriculture, and urban development along the rivers like Nairobi River and Athi River have not only reduced their flow, but have also increased the pollution level. Madam Speaker, there is no Nairobi River. What we have in Nairobi River is sewage, is raw sewage, is polluted. And I want to assure you, speaking on behalf of President William Ruto, Nairobi River and all other urban rivers will not be the same again. The same river of London, Madam Speaker, at one time was a sludge. I am ready as a minister to take the prize. The president has given me all the powers. And I want the leadership of Nairobi County to work with us. We started yesterday with the climate works. We will change Nairobi River. It will become blue, and the people around Nairobi River and all of us will walk there. Pollution is another issue that's affecting our rivers. Pollution from industrial, from agriculture, from domestic sources, all these have degraded our rivers. The Nairobi River is a perfect example of high pollution due to untreated industrial waste, sewage, and plastic pollution, further straining its ability to sustain constant flow of water, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, poor agricultural practices, such as monocropping and overgrazing, have led to soil erosion and siltation in many of the rivers. The Tana River, for example, the Kenyan largest river, is affected by siltation caused by deforestation and land degradation in its upper catchment. This reduces the river's capacity to hold water, leading to flooding during heavy rains. Go to Garissa County, go to Tana River, go to Lamu. As the river is entering the sea, the kind of siltation that you'll find on Sabaki Bridge. Honorable Speaker, allow me now also to highlight what mitigation measures is the ministry putting. One, we want to restore our water towers at the onset. The ministry is implementing the ambitious 15 billion tree growing presidential initiative to restore all our degraded ecosystem, including the water catchment areas, including the Mau Forest Complex, Mount Kenya Forest, Mount Elgon, Charangani, Aberdares. Restoration and forest protection will enhance water infiltration and will reduce service runoff, thus contributing to river restoration, in which Honorable team has asked. Mr. Speaker, to address climate change, the ministry has developed the third National Climate Change Action Plan 3, which was launched during the inaugural First African Climate Summit held in Nairobi in September 2023 by President William Ruto. And he today is the chair of African Climate Heads of State and Government. That coordinating of that national plan into a sectoral sectors plans into many ministries and counties for implementation. For example, the Ministry of Agriculture is implementing what we call climate smart agriculture and other adaptation strategies to enhance water conservation. Mr. Speaker, finally, the ministry, through the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, we have enforced the protection of the riparian zones by removing illegal structures and settlements. This effort is very critical in ensuring that the rivers have adequate space to flow and recharge naturally. For example, the riparian cleanup and protection campaign along Nairobi rivers are ongoing, and it has started yesterday with the 10,000 young people under the Climate Works program that is initiated by our government. In another month, we'll add about another 10,000. Nairobi will have 20,000. Then we go to the other 5 cities, and by December, 139,000 young people in all our 47 counties and constituencies will be engaged. It's not a choice. Climate change is real, and we must have clear policies for climate mitigation and adaptation as a country. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Tim Wanyonyi also sought our indulgence to enumerate the entities that discharge effluent in the rivers and the policy statement outlining. Mr. Speaker, when I went to that ministry, what I saw, I can't believe it. The people who pollute Nairobi rivers is not the informal settlements. The people who produce garbage are not in the informal settlements. They are found in the middle class. Me and you. Me and the member sitting here. The people who live in the informal settlements, what they cook is so little that they finish. The people who have a lot of garbage at their homes is the middle class in Kenya. So the informal settlements, pollution percentage is less than 1%. So who pollutes the Nairobi River? NEMA has mapped out over 101 industries, factories, apartments, slaughterhouses that discharge their effluent to Nairobi rivers. And the Speaker, I want to confirm, NEMA Director General is sitting here. He has no choice. He must comply with the law and the regulation passed by this House. He has already given them what is called restoration order. And on Monday, I'm meeting Kenya Private Sector Alliance, I'm meeting Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and I will tell them, if you are discharging effluent to Nairobi River, you either close and pack, or you find how you deal with that effluent in accordance with the MCA Act passed by this House. Mr. Speaker, NEMA, as I said, out of the 145 facilities and factories and slaughterhouses and apartments mapped out, 101 facilities have been listed by NEMA as having compliance issues as attached list, and that you'll find in Annex 1. NEMA has also issued restoration order to all the non-compliant facilities to ensure that they set up effluent treatment plants and they treat their waste water to meet the national standards under the Environmental Management and Coordination Water Quality Regulations 2006, passed by this House before discharge. The last question, Mr. Speaker, of Honorable Wanyonyi was to disclose the policy statement. Mr. Speaker, it's noteworthy that non-residential cultivation in public forest is governed by the Forest Conservation and the Management Act of 2016, passed by this House. This act establishes the Kenya Forest Service and vested it with a mandate to develop and sustainably manage, including conservation and rational utilization of all forest resources for the country's socio-economic development and our other connected purposes. Honorable Speaker, Section 48, 49, and 50 of that Act provide guidelines for community participation in forest conservation and management. Under these provisions, the Kenya Forest Service issued guidelines for non-residential cultivation and engage local communities. You cannot be in our forest as residential. Through the Community Forest Association, there are regulations where you can go cultivate, you can go graze in consultation with the Kenya Forest Service. But non-residential cultivation or residential cultivation, we will not allow. Our communities do a lot. They work with the Kenya Forest. Subsidiary legislation in forest, Honorable Speaker, most of Section 58, 1 and 2, community forest associations are granted the opportunity to engage in non-residential cultivation. This allows them to cultivate crops while caring for established trees on the same land and the protection of our forests for 3 years. In 2020, Mr. Speaker, operational guidelines for implementing the plantation establishment and livelihood improvement scheme, known as Trees First Guidelines, was put in place, and this was to enhance efficiency and effectiveness of managing our forest plantation. Honorable Speaker, allow me also now to highlight forest cultivation in Kenya faces several challenges, despite the framework and the efforts that the law that this House has put in place. We have got forest degradation due to unsustainable cultivation practice, poor management, and lack of enforcement have led to deforestation in some of our areas. I am here with the Chief Forest Conservator, and we have agreed in principle that our rangers, our foresters, it will not be business as usual. We must, all of us, from the top to our citizens, we must protect our ecosystem, we must protect our biodiversity. Enforcement is a key issue, Mr. Speaker, because KFS is really underfunded, and I'm sure the Committee of Environment will look into that when our physical space improves, Mr. Speaker. Population pressure and conflict over land use has caused more forest encroachment. And finally, Mr. Speaker, communities involved in our engagement with Kenya Forest Service do not follow sustainable farming practices, which sometimes can lead to soil degradation, loss of biodiversity, and ecosystem disruption. Mr. Speaker, the other long issue that I need to address, which I've given to Honorable Wanyonyi, because he had many questions, was the challenges and how to improve forest conservation and cultivation. The ministry has intensified its efforts to enforce forest conservation laws, mainly through Forest Conservation and Management Act that this House passed in 2016. The ministry has recruited more than 2,664 forest rangers to bolster our enforcement and monitoring activities across all forested areas, increasing funding for the Kenya Forest Service, and we want to thank the President. In all subsequent government, it is President William Ruto's tenure that over 2,600 forest rangers were recruited. The ministry has also reviewed the three first guidelines to make them more adaptive to our emerging challenges, such as the land use conflict, climate change, and invasive species management. The ministry is also working closely with the Community Forest Association to promote sustainable farming practice. And lastly, we want to ensure compliance with the law, and the ministry has introduced very strict monitoring mechanism, including regular inspection of forest stations, and these inspections ensure that cultivation's activities are aligned with sustainable forest management and conservation guidelines. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I will give the first bite to the Honorable KJ and then go back to Honorable Wanyonyi, the questioner. Proceed, Honorable KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. And allow me to start by saying that we are happy to have Waziri Duale in the House. It's deja vu when we hear his voice come across through the public address system. We feel like he's seated right there as a leader of majority, one of the better performing leaders of majority that the history of this parliament has known. Now, being a leader of majority, Honorable Duale understands that this parliament never moves in vain. And that's why I rise to ask about the progress of the implementation of a motion that was brought to this House by myself, but was backed by members and passed. And when it was passed by members, then it ceased being my motion. It became a motion of this House. And because this House never legislates in vain, I would like to know, in connection to the reply that he's giving my neighbor, Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, in Nairobi City, we do not have space to plant trees. We do not have shambas. We do not have forests. So the motion was seeking to have the ministry implement tree planting along roadsides and along road reserves. This country constructs in excess of 600 kilometers of road per annum. These roadsides, if they became sites for tree planting, then Nairobi will get its fair share of the bite at the cherry in populating trees in this country. And so the target that the ministry has, Nairobi will be assisting in that target by planting trees along roadsides and road reserves. And this is not uncommon, Mr. Speaker, because previously, the Honorable Beatrice Elachi neighbors me. She will tell you that some roads that we share, when we were growing up, a road like James Gishuru, all the way from Wayakiwe to Dagoretti Corner, used to have a canopy of trees on both sides of the road. And during bloom season, during the jacaranda tree bloom season, it would be the most beautiful boulevard with purple flowers along that tree. Because, Mr. Speaker, when a road gets a tree canopy, it stops being a road, it becomes a boulevard.
KJ, it's a question time.
The question is...
The chair has given you some leeway so that you can build on your question, but please ask the question.
Yes, sir. Yes. Mr. Speaker, I do oblige, and the question is, what is the state of implementation on the motion that was passed by this House on the tree planting along roadsides and along road reserves in this republic? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Fair enough. Timonyonyi, you can ask your question, and then the minister will the cabinet secretary will answer them together. Proceed, the Honorable Wanyonyi. Can you give him the mic, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to appreciate the answer that the minister has given, very elaborate, and I know he means the things he has said, especially, Mr. Speaker, about the Nairobi River that is so polluted, and looking forward, Honorable Tuale, that we, as leadership of Nairobi, we are ready to join you, to work with you, to reclaim these rivers. Nairobi River never dries up. It runs throughout the year. And if it is saved, Mr. Speaker, it will even be giving people who live along that river fresh water and many other things to use it. So we look forward to Honorable Tuale for that implementation. And secondly, my other comment, there is a riparian area just outside Westgate Mall, which land that Honorable Ngilu, when she was the Minister for Lands, she helped rescue that land from land grabbers. And it's a riparian area, and we wanted to preserve that area to remain as it was. It was a very beautiful environment, vegetation, and all like that. But now, there are people who have come and encroached that land and have occupied it. So I would like to ask whether the Honorable Minister will be in a position to come and help reclaim that land along with his colleague, the Minister of Lands, so that it remains a riparian area and will preserve our ecosystem within that area. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Honorable KJ asked a very good question. I will look for the motion, and I'm sure the Committee on Implementation need to invite me and the rest who are concerned. But I want to assure him that there are many places to plant. We have started with City Park. City Park now is under KFS. The title belongs to the Ministry of National Treasury. It belongs to us. So City Park, because Karura now is over-congested. In one weekend, there are over between 5,000 to 10,000 people. So we want to plant, fence, and make City Park forests be like Karura. But yes, but on the roadside, under the key restoration program of the president of the 15 billion, the Ministry of Roads is under obligations. There are many things in that strategy that the contractors who are given to build roads, they are under obligation to plant trees and grow trees, not even planting, grow trees. The way you see in Europe, if you drive from here to Thika, from here to Nairobi, to Nakuru, to Kisumu, you must drive in the middle of a row of a forest, that road. That is part of what the Ministry of Roads is going to do in the larger restoration 15 billion. Secondly, we are having an engagement with Kenya Power and Lighting Company and even the roads agency. There is no way they can come to your residence, to your estate, And in making sure the electricity lines are in order, they just cut trees. It's not allowed. The law even allows. The problem in this country is people don't want to follow the law. There's a lot of impunity. Even when you want to construct your residential home on a half an acre, the law allows that you must leave certain percentage for growing trees and grass and all that. But because of greed, people want to build apartments next to each other. And this must come to an end. Honorable team, I am happy today that as a ranking member of the Nairobi Members of Parliament, you and KJ, you have stood firm and you have gone on record that you stood with us. The Nairobi River Commission was not under my ministry, but now it's coming to my ministry. Yet you stood with us, the multi-agency team, you stood with the president and all of us, and Beatrice Elachi is also here. We will help us clean Nairobi River. More, I'll talk about it, Mr. Speaker, when we reach the question of Honorable TJ Kajwang on Nairobi River.
Next question, honorable members, let's go to the next question by the Honorable TJ Kajwang. Eh? No, it's, sorry, it's the Honorable Member of Parliament for Nakuru, Madam Liza Chelule. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Waziri, welcome, and we congratulate you for your new position of CS for Environment. My question, Mr. Speaker, sir, is 107 of 2024, and it is as follows. Could the Cabinet Secretary elaborate on the initiative undertaken by the ministry to preserve wetlands and water catchment areas within the country, and further state the effectiveness of such institution? My number 2 question, Mr. Speaker, sir, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the measures of the ministry, the ministry has put in place to safeguard indigenous trees planted in Kenya forests, considering the significant threat posed by charcoal burning activities? My question number 3, Mr. Speaker, sir, could the Cabinet Secretary provide the status of the community forest associations nationwide, and further state the steps taken by the ministry to ensure those associations are adequately equipped and trained to actively engage in seed propagation, particularly in light of the government's plan to plant 15 billion trees within the next decade? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member for Nakuru County, my sister, seeks to know the initiative that the ministry has undertaken to preserve our heritage, our wetlands, and catchment areas. Mr. Speaker, at the policy level, the ministry has put in place National Wetland Conservation and Management Policy 2009 to ensure how we use and the sustainable management of our wetlands in the country, and to ensure sustained ecological and socio-economic functions for the wetlands for both the present and for future generations. Mr. Speaker, the ministry is now implementing that policy jointly with other stakeholders in order to protect and safeguard wetlands. 2, Mr. Speaker, the ministry has developed and is enforcing the Wetlands Regulations 2009, which was passed under the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, Cap 387 laws of Kenya. These regulations, Mr. Speaker, provides a framework that will ensure all wetland resources in our country are utilized in a very sustainable manner, compatible with the continued presence of wetlands and their ecological goods and services. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has also designated 6 wetlands in the country as far as the Ramsar site. Ramsar is a convention that Kenya has signed internationally in 1992. These sites include Lake Nakuru in Nakuru County, Lake Elimantaita in Nakuru County, Lake Bogoria in Baringo County, Lake Baringo in Baringo County, Lake Naivasha in Nakuru County, and Tana Delta in Tana River County. Thirdly, to promote wise use and conservation of our wetlands and all the associated resources, my ministry is implementing the management plans for several wetlands in our country. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to read, it's a long list. I have provided to the member from Gambele Swamp Integrated in Meru, Lake Kenyatta Management Plan in Lamu, Tana Delta Management Plan in Tana River, Sabaki Estuary Management Plan in Kilifi, Lake Jibe in Taveta, Munungu Swamp in Embu, Saiwa Swamp in Trans Nzoia, Kibiroing Wetland Management Plan in Nandi, which are all ongoing, and Lake Bogoria Management Plan, which is under review. Honorable Speaker, the ministry is also restoring all our degraded wetlands by mobilizing various stakeholders, including the national government agencies, county governments, the private sector, NGOs, and the general public and our local communities to restore all degraded areas through planting of trees, and it's part of the wider 15 billion trees growing initiative started by President William Ruto. And it's very, very important, Mr. Speaker, to note that the conservation and protection of our wetland is our sustainability strategy towards attaining 15 billion tree growing goal. Last but not least, Mr. Speaker, we're also implementing a very transformative initiative dubbed Adapt a Wetland, which is spearheaded by NEMA. This initiative seeks to catalyze the participation of different stakeholders. But let me warn, Mr. Speaker, a number of our wetlands, people have title deeds. When we cancel them, I need the support of this House. People will bring petitions, people will bring motions, they might even bring an impeachment to discuss me. I want this House to protect, because I'll be protecting the wetlands. So cartels will use, I don't want cartels to use the floor of this House. I have seen it. When I talk about, I have lived here, I think a quarter of my life. So I know what goes on. Madam Speaker, the second question was explain the measures the minister has put in place on this matter. And Honorable Speaker, Honorable Lise seeks to know the measures. Allow me to respond to this by first observing that the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, and Forestry is unwavering in its commitment to protecting Kenya's indigenous trees through regulatory enforcement. I have one of our top researchers, the CEO of KEFRI here with me, the scientific research we must protect, and community must be engaged, all of which are facilitated by Kenya Forest Service and Kenya Forest Research Institute, KEFRI, which is both in Muguga and in many of our counties. Honorable Speaker, Kenya Forest Service recently employed, as I say, 2,000 plus forest rangers to various regions and posted to various regions and forest stations to strengthen and protect and conserve efforts that our Member of Parliament from Nakuru County has raised. In the spirit of collaboration, the ministry has also deployed forest advisory staff to counties to advise our counties, give them advisory service, work with our county governments on forest conservation, on development, and on management issues. 3, to regulate tree harvesting on private lands our ministry has implemented mandatory inspection and issuance of certificates of origin and movements of all forest permits for movements of all forest-related products. Finally, the ministry actively supports community forest association, formal groups of communities adjacent to our forest, which collaborates with KFS in sustainable management of our forest. The third, and I think the final question, Mr. Speaker, is, third question that the member has asked is the status of community forest association. Let me start by explaining the anchorage of community forest association in the Kenyan laws. CFA, as they are called, are incorporated under Section 9 of the Societies Act, CAP 108, but they are domiciled sector through Section 48, subsection 1 of the Forest Conservation and Management Act of 2016, passed by this august House. Section 49(1) of the Forest Community Management Association outlines the obligation of our community forest association, their role, and they are given and granted permission to participate in how they help KFS in the management and in the conservation of our forest. Mr. Speaker, currently we have 233 forests in collaboration with KFS, and they are spread across the country. There are 175 of them which are active. 17 of them are inactive. 41 of them are moderately active, with a total of 185,535 membership. All these community forest associations, Mr. Speaker, are duly registered with the Registrar of Societies. So they have a legal backing. They help us to protect, conserve with our communities. And they live next to our forest in protecting our national heritage. Community forest association, Mr. Speaker, engage in forest management activity through what we call participatory forest management plans. Mr. Speaker, our ministry has taken the following steps to ensure community forest associations are equipped and trained to support the 15 billion growing trees strategy of the Kenya Kwanza government. The ministry through KFS supports this group by doing what? In developing, in training them, in helping them with good governance, and giving them good guidance on what to do, on how to sustainably manage the use of our forest resources and how our forest restoration activities can take place. Through KFS and KEFRI, it offers them training in forest governance. It offers them training in monitoring and compliance with the forest regulations, while KEFRI provides specialized training in seed propagation, nursery management, agroforestry production. Mr. Speaker, before I became a minister, I didn't know what is KEFRI and where they are. I really want to ask that one day, members, when you're free, you visit KEFRI in Miguga. It's a very cold place. You'll find 20 top researchers. They will tell you what you want. They will tell you the type of forest and years. Mr. Speaker, very, very great institution. Mr. Speaker, the community forest associations are playing an increasingly significant role in helping us in creating awareness in tree growing campaigns. In these 15 billion, you'll find them on site. Seedling production, they have been given that role. They help us in producing those seeds. They help us in running nurseries, in planting and growing of trees in gazetted and outside gazetted forest. They protect planted trees from very, very important. And that's why this August House gave them a role when they were doing the Forest Conservation and Management Act of 2016. Mr. Speaker, I think I have answered all that to the member for Nakuru County, the Honorable Liza Chelule.
The Honorable Wilberforce Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's good to see us today. He was the majority leader, and he left me seated here, and you'll always find me here, regardless what Sir George thinks. I'll always sit here. Honorable Speaker, I like his passion for the new assignment. I did not know he'll transit from a Afande to a forestman that seamlessly. Honorable Speaker, I want, probably you might not have an answer now, but I want you to engage your team to look at a series of hills in Funyula constituency, starting from Odiado Hills all the way to Busia Hill. For many years, during the times of Professor Julio Jambo, when she was the MP, the place was populated by trees, indigenous trees. Over time, as has clearly said, bad farming practices, deforestation, and tree cutting for construction size, charcoal burning, has decimated those trees, and generally those hills are now bare. Is there a program within the ministry that private owners of land can collaborate with the ministry to ensure afforestation with the indigenous trees so that we preserve the environment and return the hills to the status they were in the 1970s and early 1980s? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member of Women Rep for Wajir County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to tell the Waziri that you are in the right ministry. Listening to you gives me all the confidence that you can make a difference in this ministry. And I feel like it's the right time to make the Northeastern green, Mr. Waziri. Following up on the issue of the 15 billion trees that we are meant to plant between now and 2032, Mr. Minister, we have had a day for international tree planting, and it's somewhere in November, if I'm not wrong. Last year, we all went to the counties, and all the ministers planted all sorts of trees. But coming to where we come from, you and I, all those trees are not doing well. Are we having a scenario whereby we are just planting trees and we leave it, or we can plant trees for sustainability? I want you, when you go back, to look at the trees that were planted. I know you were not there. Find out how they are doing. I know your team can do that. They can do that work and see how they are faring. 2, I've been to the KFS many times. I was just hoping if we can have a forestation land for Wajir, Mr. Minister. We have the land, but we don't have trees, we don't have water. But I believe if we were given water and trees, we can give you land that you can do very well, that people can come for benchmarking. And I'll repeat this, Mr. Minister, that by the time you leave this docket, I want you to paint Northeastern green. It's viable, it's possible, and we can make it, all of us. Thank you.
CS, I think you can take a few more and then answer them together. Yes. You can take 2 more. Yes. And then you answer them at one go. Oluoch, are you still on or you have changed your mind? Okay, the MP for Seme then, if Oluoch is not interested.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I also take this opportunity to actually congratulate our colleague, having shifted from here, and how he's really picked very well in the new docket. But my question is to do with the preservation of indigenous trees. some of these trees have actually very high commercial value, and their protection is important. Some have medicinal value, some have special oil values. Like, my question is specifically on sandalwood. I don't know whether it is indigenous tree or it's actually a tree that was brought in. But this tree apparently is very popular. It has some special oil, and there is always a lot of trafficking. People have been arrested, lorries have been arrested, carrying sandalwood. Is it not possible, if this wood is so popular and has such a high commercial value, to actually grow it in a commercial scale? Not just protect what is there, but grow it in a commercial scale and actually export it, and it will give us foreign exchange. Thank you.
Bonnie. Waziri, because they're all pretty much similar, I think you can take a few together. Yes, you have the mic.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Duale, my friend. Since you left, I'm still suffering. Yeah, my question is similar to the question. Our long rains start in October, ends in December. That's our long rains. But the trees, we brought the trees in November, so we had only like 1 month for the trees to get the necessary water. Secondly, these trees, they were not really for Ukambani, and therefore they could not really withstand the harsh climate in that area. So my question is there plans to have the tree planting day this year? And what are plans, what plans are there for government to supply trees which are really area specific? Thank you very much.
I think I will ask the questioner, Madam Chelule, to ask the last question on this. There are 2 other questions which those of you who feel they can contribute can also, or rather ask questions, will get an opportunity to proceed. Okay. Honorable Lisa.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for once again giving me this time to react to the answers given by the Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Waziri, we are not only talking about the government forest and other government institutions. I'm very passionate in planting trees. And I want to request you, Waziri, that we need to engage people at home to do serious planting of indigenous trees and other trees, exotic trees. And I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, sir, because if we don't engage the people of this country, even to plant in their private lands, we may not achieve what we want to achieve. Waziri, I hope you are aware that most rivers are disappearing because of degradation. And this one is happening because farmers around small rivers are doing plowing to the riverbanks. And this is actually encouraging the soil erosion to fill up the rivers. And this is what is happening at the community level. Banasias, you've only spoken about these big institutions, the government institutions. We want to speak about those rivers in our local areas. There are so many rivers that are drying up because of the quarry activities along those rivers. And as the CS, and I know you are not lazy, I would really request you that one time move around and see what is happening in most of places in Kenya. So many activities, those bad activities is happening along the rivers. And rivers have actually disappeared. The CS, he has spoken actually about the KEFRI, and let us devolve KEFRI. I'm not saying we take all the offices from KEFRI or everything, but we need the seeds. They have good seeds, indigenous seeds, and exotic Kenyans can plant. If only today tree seedlings is made free to Kenyans, you will see wonders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So otherwise, I'm satisfied to some extent, but I know you will do it, Waziri. Thank you.
CS, you can answer those raft of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me start with my very good friend, Honorable Member for Funyula. I also miss you. I mean, he was my colleague in Public House Committee. I hope you are still there. Yes, at least you are talking about hills. We have had many about mountains. So today, today is about hills. And where myself and the speaker come from, there are also small hills, the ant hills.